Ever feel like one tiny system error could send the whole tech world into a tailspin?
Yeah, it's like a house of cards sometimes.
That's where ICT Disaster Recovery Analysts come in, right? They're the ones who swoop in and make sure businesses don't crumble when digital mayhem hits.
The digital first responders love it. And speaking of being prepared, anyone listening who's aiming for this super in-demand role, we're diving deep into acing that interview.
We've got RoleCatcher's insights to guide us, loaded with insider tips and those make-or-break sample questions.
What I find fascinating is how they break down not just what to say, but why it clicks with hiring managers. It's like having a secret decoder ring for interview success.
Okay, so let's decode this. What's the day-to-day of an ICT disaster recovery analyst really look like?
RoleCatcher's Career Guide stresses it's way more than just fixing stuff when it breaks. It's about predicting those disasters before they even happen.
So you're always on high alert.
Constantly, we're talking risk assessment, crafting those super detailed procedures, all that documentation nobody enjoys creating, but everyone needs when things go haywire.
Like writing the manual for a tech apocalypse, but hoping you'll never have to use it.
Exactly. But also constantly backing things up, testing systems, making sure those recovery plans actually hold water under pressure. We're talking about protecting data, which is like the lifeblood of businesses today.
And we're so much moving to the cloud. I bet that adds a whole other level of complexity.
Oh, absolutely. It's a constantly evolving landscape.
Speaking of evolving, RoleCatcher's interview guide has some real-deal questions we should dig into. Ready to jump in?
Let's do it.
All right, question 1. Describe your experience with disaster recovery planning and execution. Sounds simple enough, but I bet there's a lot to unpack there.
Totally. They want to see you understand that whole disaster recovery life cycle from spotting risks to building the plan and then, crucially, putting it into action. It's about showing you've been in the trenches, not just read about it.
So how do you answer this without sounding like a robot reciting a textbook?
Share a story. Don't just tell them what you did, tell them how you did it and what the impact was. Were there any curveballs during implementation? How'd you handle those? Concrete examples make your experience come alive.
Show, don't tell.
Yeah.
Now, what about someone newer to the field? What if they don't have tons of real-world experience yet?
That's where RoleCatcher's AI can really help. It helps tailor those answers, even with limited practical experience. You can focus on projects from school, volunteer work, anywhere you used similar skills.
So you could even talk about, say, a mock disaster recovery plan for a student club.
Exactly. It shows initiative and that you get it. Don't forget certifications, too. They prove you're serious about this field.
Turning that theoretical knowledge into proof, you're ready for the real deal. Okay, question 2. How do you ensure that disaster recovery plans are updated and tested regularly?
It's not a set it and forget it kind of thing, is it? It's not a chance. Disaster recovery is a living, breathing process. Technology changes, a company's needs change, your plans have to keep up. This question is all about proving you're proactive, not reactive.
So how do you convince them you're the proactive type?
Talk about your process. Do you have a set schedule for review and updates, like quarterly or annually? Any specific tools or software you rely on? And here's the big one, stakeholder involvement.
Making sure everyone's on the same page.
100%. You've got to make sure those plans still work for the business. Mention how you've gotten key people involved to keep things aligned. And don't forget testing. Have to make sure those plans actually hold up.
It's one thing to have a plan, it's another to know it'll work when you need it most.
Absolutely. Briefly mentioning your approach to testing simulations, tabletop exercises, those kinds of things shows you're thorough.
You're not just hoping for the best, you're actively preparing for the worst. Okay, question 3 feels intense. How do you prioritize recovery efforts during a disaster? This gets right into the hot seat, doesn't it?
Totally. When everything's crashing down, you got to think clearly under pressure. This question is all about how you make tough decisions when the clock is ticking.
Where do you even start with that? You need a priority system ready to go.
You got it. Start by outlining how you figure out which systems and data are mission critical. What's your criteria? Is there a hierarchy based on how much an outage would hurt the business?
It's like triage in a hospital. Got to tackle the most urgent stuff first.
And just like in a hospital, communication is critical, right? Keeping everyone informed during those crucial moments.
Absolutely. You've got to communicate clearly about the situation, the plan, any potential impact. This is where you get to show off your technical skills and your communication skills.
So you need to be a tech whiz who can explain things clearly to a non-tech audience. No easy feat.
Right. And don't forget, RoleCatcher can help you practice nailing that balance. Okay, question 4. Describe your experience with cloud-based disaster recovery solutions. No escaping the cloud these days.
It's taking over the world. Rightfully so. It's all about leveraging the cloud's flexibility and scalability to protect those essential systems. They want to know you've got hands-on experience here.
So what should someone focus on to really stand out?
Name drop those cloud providers you've worked with. AWS, Azure, Google Cloud. Have you actually built disaster recovery environments in the cloud? Migrated systems over? Certifications for specific platforms are gold here.
And I'm guessing metrics are key.
You know it. Did you manage to reduce recovery times? Minimize data loss? Quantify that experience? Show them you understand the impact.
Numbers don't lie. Now, what about someone who's newer to cloud-based disaster recovery? Any tips?
Even without leading a full-blown cloud DR project, you can still shine. Talk about pilot projects, tools you've used, even independent research you've done. Show them you're all in on this rapidly changing part of disaster recovery.
So it's about showing you're not intimidated by the cloud, you're embracing it. Okay, on to question 5, which is, how do you ensure that disaster recovery plans are compliant with regulatory requirements? Now we're getting serious.
Compliance is non-negotiable. Different industries have different rules and standards, and this question is all about proving you can navigate those legal waters.
So it's not enough to have a plan, it has to be legally airtight as well.
Exactly. Be ready to talk about common regulatory frameworks, things like GDPR, TIPA, PCI DSS, especially any relevant to the industry you're interested in.
How can someone really showcase their expertise in this area?
Connect those regulations to your experience. Have you done audits, put specific controls in place, worked with legal teams to make sure those disaster recovery plans check all the boxes?
It's all about those concrete examples again. What if someone hasn't worked in a heavily regulated industry before?
Even then, you can still impress. Talk about how you stay updated on those ever-changing regulations, resources you use, and your commitment to making compliance a top priority.
So it's about showing that proactive mindset and dedication to making those plans legally sound.
Exactly. RoleCatcher can give you personalized feedback here to really make it sing for the role you want. Okay, ready for question 6?
Hit me.
Describe your experience with disaster recovery testing. We've touched on this, but now it's go time to show you're in the weeds with designing, implementing, and evaluating those tests.
So what are some key points to hit here? What makes someone stand out?
Talk about the different types of testing you've actually done, tabletop exercises, full-blown simulations, and don't forget documentation. Highlight your attention to detail. Document those test plans, results, lessons learned.
Because even the best plan can have a flaw that only testing will reveal, right?
Precisely. And don't be afraid to talk about challenges you faced during testing, how you overcame them, what you learned from them. Those learning moments often make the best stories.
Turning those hiccups into opportunities for growth, that's the ticket.
Exactly. And again, tailor those answers. Some roles need experience with specific testing tools or ways of doing things.
All right, moving on to question 7. Question 7. This one's interesting. How do you ensure that disaster recovery plans are communicated effectively to stakeholders? This feels less about tech skills and more about getting everyone on the same page.
You hit the nail on the head. You could have the most amazing, tech-savvy disaster recovery plan in the world, but if it's collecting dust because nobody understands it.
Or worse, it's written in a language only robots understand.
Exactly. What good is it when that critical server decides to take an unscheduled nap? This question is about showing you can bridge that communication gap.
So how do you prove you're the bridge builder in this scenario?
It starts with realizing that communication isn't a one-and-done thing. It's an ongoing process. Think about your audience. How tech-savvy are they? Craft your message accordingly. Plain language, simple explanations, and visuals.
Because everyone loves a good flowchart.
Exactly. Flowcharts, diagrams, even a well-placed infographic can make a world of difference.
It's about making those plans clear and accessible, not just technically brilliant. What about keeping people in the loop after that initial rollout, especially since plans change?
Regular training sessions, workshops, those are key. Walk people through those what-if scenarios, answer their questions, clear up confusion before a real disaster hits.
Like a fire drill for your IT systems. Everyone knows their role when the alarm goes off.
Exactly. And stories. Never underestimate the power of a good story. Real-world examples or case studies, they really help drive those lessons home.
A good story is worth 1,000 bullet points. Speaking of things that can feel like 1,000 bullet points budgets.
Hey.
Question 8. How do you ensure that disaster recovery plans are cost-effective? Because let's face it, disaster preparedness is important, but it can get pricey.
No doubt. That's where your inner financial ninja comes in. It's about finding that balance, rock solid protection without breaking the bank. You need to show you can weigh those costs and benefits, compare different solutions, maybe even get a little creative with cost optimization without sacrificing that essential protection.
Because a small startup won't need the same level of protection as a global enterprise, right?
Exactly. This question is your time to shine. Talk about conducting those cost-benefit analyses, researching different vendors, anything that highlights your budgeting savvy. And guess what? RoleCatcher can actually give you feedback on this too.
Music to a hiring manager's ears. Okay, question 9. Describe your experience with business continuity planning. Now we're thinking big picture.
Zooming out, disaster recovery focuses on getting those IT systems up and running. Business continuity planning, that's about making sure the entire organization can weather the storm.
Keeping the lights on, the customers happy, and business humming along, even when the unexpected happens.
You got it. This question is about showing you see how disaster recovery fits into that larger puzzle.
So how do you make that connection for them? How do you tie your specific DR experience into this broader concept of business continuity?
This is where you talk about business impact analyses, identifying those absolutely essential functions a business needs and what happens if those functions go down. It's not just about servers and data, it's about how those systems impact the whole company, the customers, everything.
Connecting those tech dots to the business impact music to any CEO's ears.
Right. And mention any experience you have working across different departments, developing and implementing those big picture business continuity plans.
It's about showcasing that you get it together. Disaster recovery isn't just an IT problem, it affects the entire business and needs everyone on board. All right, last question in this section. Ready?
Bring it on.
Here we go. How do you stay up to date with the latest disaster recovery trends and technologies? This field moves fast, so I imagine this one's crucial.
Crucial is an understatement. The tech world changes faster than you can say ransomware attack. This question is all about your commitment to learning, your passion for staying ahead of the game.
So how do you showcase that commitment in a way that truly resonates?
Time to break out your learning highlights. Industry conferences, DRJ Fall World, RSA Conference, any webinars, online courses you've taken, even late-night deep dives into industry reports.
Don't forget certifications. Those are like gold stars in the tech world.
They definitely hold weight. RoleCatcher's guide specifically mentions CISSP Certified Ethical Hacker, Disaster Recovery Certified Expert, ITIL Foundation, even Project Management Professional, all highly valuable in this field.
But it's one thing to have the knowledge. It's another to showcase it. What does RoleCatcher suggest for making that expertise impossible to ignore?
They have a fantastic suggestion. Build a portfolio. Create an online space where you can show off those disaster recovery projects you've led, highlight your wins, display those hard-earned certifications. It's like your digital trophy case.
Your disaster recovery highlight reel. I love it.
Exactly. And never underestimate the power of networking.
It's who you know, right?
It can open doors. RoleCatcher suggests joining professional organizations. There are tons dedicated to disaster recovery and business continuity. Go to those industry events and conferences. It's not just about the information. It's about meeting the right people. You might even hear about job openings before they're public.
Building skills, showcasing them, and making connections, a recipe for success. And RoleCatcher can be there every step of the way.
Absolutely. And here's something else they emphasize that I love, the human side of disaster recovery.
Because it's not just about bits and bytes in the end, is it?
It's about people. In a crisis, when systems are down and stress levels are high, your ability to stay calm, communicate clearly, and make those tough decisions, that's what makes all the difference.
It's true. In those moments, you need a level head and a steady hand.
Exactly. So anyone listening who's thinking, this sounds like me, this sounds like the career for me, where do they even begin?
Well, luckily, RoleCatcher offers some great starting points in their career guide. They're big on hands-on experience.
Because nothing beats diving in and getting your hands dirty.
For sure. Internships are a great way to test the waters, right?
Absolutely. Look for entry-level roles in IT departments or disaster recovery teams. You can even volunteer for disaster recovery stuff, talk about commitment.
I bet even things like hackathons, especially the cybersecurity ones, could build some really relevant skills.
Totally. Anything that lets you practice those problem-solving skills in a real-world scenario is a win. It shows you're not all talk, you can back it up.
Now, for those already working in tech who are ready to level up, make that move to an ICT Disaster Recovery Analyst role, what's RoleCatcher's advice?
They highlight a few key things for climbing that ladder. First up, never stop learning.
We keep coming back to that, but it's important that this field changes so quickly.
It really does. You snooze, you lose. Embrace those learning opportunities like your career depends on it, because it kind of does. Webinars, courses, workshops, all of it. And speaking of things that never go out of style, certifications.
The gold standard. They show employers you're the real deal.
Right. The RoleCatcher Guide specifically calls out certifications like CISSP, Certified Ethical Hacker, Disaster Recovery Certified Expert, DRCE, ITIL Foundation, even Project Management Professional.
It's like having a secret handshake for the Disaster Recovery Club.
Huh. Exactly. But it's one thing to have those skills, it's another to show them off effectively.
So how does RoleCatcher advise people to highlight that expertise?
They absolutely nail it with this one build a portfolio. Create a space online where you can showcase the disaster recovery projects you've worked on, highlight your successes, show off those certifications.
It's like your disaster recovery highlight reel.
Love that. And never underestimate networking.
Because it's all about who you know.
It can definitely give you an edge. Join those professional organizations. There are so many for disaster recovery and business continuity. Go to those conferences. It's not just about what you learn in the sessions. It's about who you meet.
You never know what doors might open.
Exactly. And here's something else RoleCatcher points out that I think is really important. They emphasize the human side of disaster recovery.
Because it's not just about servers and firewalls, is it?
Nope. It's about people. When those systems crash and everyone's stressed, your ability to be that calm, clear communicator, that problem solver, that's what really sets you apart.
Those soft skills are just as important as those tech skills. They go hand in hand.
Couldn't agree more. Being able to empathize with users who are freaking out, work well with your team to get things back up and running, and communicate clearly with those stakeholders who want answers yesterday. That's what makes a true disaster recovery pro.
It's about being the voice of reason in the middle of chaos. So, to wrap things up for our listeners, if you're feeling inspired to dive into the world of ICT disaster recovery, RoleCatcher is an incredible resource.
They really are. They've got your back at every stage. From prepping for that interview, to getting the job, to building your dream career.
And remember, preparation is key. So load up on that knowledge, build those skills, and get out there. Make those tech dreams a reality. This is host speaker's name, signing off for the deep dive. We'll catch you next time for another exciting adventure in the world of tech.
Until then, stay curious.